Good evening, everybody. This is Manamachos here, concluding part three of the interview with Gail Shepard. Gail, the floor is yours.
Thank you, George. George and I talked at length about whether or not to even move forward with this, given the reaction that we received to the prior interviews. I felt that honestly you needed to hear this. At least we needed to put it out there. I'm sorry that the discussion got so far away from what I initially intended, and that is really just to tell this story. It's not about me. You can question different things about me, that's fine, but at the end of the day, what I'm telling you is true. I have proof, and I provided that proof, by the way, to George.
Yes,
George,
you did, Gail.
Everything I said.
Yes, you
okay,
did.
Fine.
That's right.
Okay. And if there's anything that I'm saying, George, that you feel you don't have documented to your satisfaction, please interrupt me and stop me.
I will.
And tell, and then we'll go from there, because it's not my intent to deceive anyone.
I appreciate that.
Okay. So in the beginning, George, we talked a little bit about where we were in the Ethiopian Archdiocese when there were rumors about the demotion of our bishop. Metropolitan Philip took the position of first announcing it and then later having the bishops gather to have them sign off on this demotion. And so the first part was really, again, my story, what happened to me when I voiced my concerns, and I was not the only one. There were many people who voiced their concerns after me, not because of me, but it just happened that way. He went ahead in April of 2009 and did call the bishops together, and I did something that was considered to be controversial by today, looking back. I wrote him a letter. I had found out quite a bit of information on him, things that concerned me about the way our diocese was being run. And it started, again, a flurry of activity within the Archdiocese. People were coming at Metropolitan Philip from different perspectives with their concerns. They were always my concerns. As a matter of fact, my concerns were probably in the minority. I don't know how many people knew what I knew. The second part of the interview was about the reaction of the Archdiocese as a whole when he made the announcement in February, and then the bishops getting together and not signing an agreement to their demotion, and then a subsequent convention. And that's kind of where the story stopped with the second interview. Tonight I want to talk about my returning to my hometown of Tucson, Arizona. I lived here until I was 18. Then I went to California, and I lived the next 40-some years in California. And my parents are both deceased. I'm an only child, and I had to move back to Arizona to take care of their estate. And Father Philip was very instrumental, certainly with respect to my father, and bringing him into the church and making funeral arrangements and just making sure I had everything I needed. So I was really looking forward to getting established in the Holy Resurrection Parish here in Tucson and making it my home parish. Father Philip was a good friend of Father Wayne, my former priest in Costa Mesa, California. And I just felt like I could start over because I really hadn't had a place to call my own since I've been in California, honestly. So I was looking forward to going, and I get a call from Father Philip, and I could tell his voice was somber, and he said that he just got back from a West Coast deanery meeting, and that they had talked about me, which is never good, George.
No.
One of us
Oh no, what did I do now?
Yeah, it was that way.
Yeah.
So I kind of held my breath, and he said, we talked at length, and we decided that we needed to warn you. And, I didn't know what to think at that point. And he said, do you know who Anthony Gabriel is? And I, was searching my memory, and I said, yeah, Father, I do remember him. He is the priest who's a very good friend of Metropolitan Philip. And I remember from Mark, I keep calling him Stokey, but it's Stoko, from Mark Stoko's site. Okay. OCA.org. And there was another website, Antiochian.org. that's no longer, you can't even access it. But I remember him posting under two monikers, according to Mark. Monikers were old friends from Chicago days, and Khalil Habib. And the reason I remember those, George, is because I was threatened by these two individuals who, according to Mark, were Anthony Gabriel. And in one case, Khalil Habib had said that beware of you who live in glass houses. And if you all recall, the whole length of my house was shattered with glass to our patio area. And that we brought it on ourselves, and that he had paid for the private detectives, which of course were out in front of my house, and for the vandalism. So naturally, I knew who he was, and I also associated him with the documents that purportedly came from the Patriarchate when Metropolitan Philip felt he needed the assistance of the Patriarchate to make this demotion of our bishops happen because of all the pushback he got. The end result, however, was that the Patriarchate did not support it, even though these documents said that they did and had the Patriarch's signature on them. And it even got more interesting because Lynn Gabriel, Anthony Gabriel's wife, wrote Mark, which Mark published on his website, a letter about what happened that night when these papers were signed. And according to Lynn, it was her husband, Anthony Gabriel, who had taken him into the Patriarch and gotten the signatures, and he was the one who faxed them from a local home instead of from the Patriarchy, etc. So I did know who he was, but he really didn't have any meaning to me. I certainly didn't know him personally. And I could tell that Father Philip had a lot of reservations about going any further, telling me any more about him, other than to say that he had spoken with him, and he claimed that he didn't know me, and that Father Philip had said that he didn't want any problems in his parish, and he wouldn't stand for it. And I was thinking, well, that's nice. I hope there aren't any problems. Yeah. And I said to Father Philip, there certainly won't be from me. I will treat him with the utmost respect. He's a priest. Of course I will. I guess, George, what I failed to say just now is that what Father Philip was trying to tell me, and why the West Coast Deanery felt I needed to be warned, is Anthony Gabriel relocated from Montreal, Canada, down to Tucson, Arizona.
I see.
So, yeah, that's what I failed to say. That's the big reveal.
Alrighty.
So he was here, and I was here, and so I was determined to make the best of it. And Father Philip had suggested that maybe I change my name. And I told him I wasn't going to do that. And he accepted that. And I went to church, and I was introduced right after liturgy as this is Gail Shepherd. She's going to be joining our parish. And I got several looks from the people that were sitting around me. I won't say that I felt comfortable. I really didn't. But I just thought, well, they'll get used to it. I'll get used to it. We'll be fine. But I noticed some things right away, George. That week when I got home to my parents' home, the landscapers quit. Now my parents had had these landscapers for almost 20 years, something like that, and they wouldn't tell me why. And it put me in a bad spot because I'm in Arizona, I don't know anyone else, and I couldn't talk them out of it. But they said everything was in ship shape, and it was. As a matter of fact, George, I sent you pictures of how it looked back in May in 2016. Everything looked beautiful.
It was pristine.
And it was pristine. So I got some new landscapers, and they started complaining right away about broken sprinklers, cut cables, how I needed a new irrigation system. And I'm not sure, George, I really believed them because everything was in such good shape. But they started showing me these cables and the different things that they were talking about. And again, George, you have pictures of all of that.
I do.
And I really wasn't sure what to think. And it wasn't until some major trees were pulled to the ground, and by major, I'm talking about trees that were there before 1959, I think, when we moved there. They'd been there a while. They were huge. And they were literally pulled down, like by cables. You could see the indentation of the cable in the bark. that happened, and I almost thought that the new landscapers might be doing that so that I would pay for new equipment, a new irrigation system, and I didn't know what to do, honestly. So I thanked them for their time, and I hired another group, father-son group, that were a referral from one of my parents' friends. I felt that would be safer. And they weren't on board more than a day before the fence came down, a whole side. And my parents have an acre of property. A side of the fence is a significant portion of their property. So that came down. And then my water bill jumped from, I don't know, $300 some a month to $750. I think one month it was $950.
Oh, my Lord.
That month.
Oh, darn.
And I know. I called the city. I said, what's happening? And at the same time, it looked like the landscape was drying out. The grass was dying, the shrubbery was dying, and I couldn't understand it. Neither could the landscapers. It looked like somehow water was being diverted from the property. So I got the city out there. And then through the investigation, we discovered that somebody had actually hooked up the old septic tank system, which was there 50-some years ago, and they shut it off. It's contaminated, clearly, after all this time, when they put the new sanitation system in Tucson. They shut it all down. Somebody had opened it up, and it was leaking into the water that was going to my home.
Oh, no.
And there were dead animals all over the property.
Yeah.
Plus, it put some workers that I had at the house at risk.
Right.
So that started happening. We lost a 60-year-old magnolia tree. We could not figure out where the water was going. On a couple of occasions, they found out that somebody had turned the water off at the street. And they also found, I had a specialist come in and look at the irrigation system. Apparently, the system was reset, and this happened daily. The previous landscapers tried to tell me this, but I got an independent supervisor of a company to come out and look, and he said that it was being reset to weird times of the day, and the grass and shrubbery was getting only a minute or two, and in Arizona that's not nearly enough. But the balance of the water was going through a pipe that looked like it had been purposely broken, because all of the water was draining into the street, which my neighbors later attested to. So the bottom line is, my property was literally worth, the landscape there was no landscape left.
Right.
No grass, no shrubs, the trees were dying. It was in really bad shape. And the landscapers I had said, you've got to call the police. We cannot keep up with the damage. So that's when I filed a police report, which, of course, George, that you have.
Right.
And I told them about all of this, and they interviewed the landscapers as well. And about the same time, I got a phone call from one of the women at the parish, and I hadn't been there for a while. I didn't go because of this, obviously, and also because Father Philip had an aneurysm, and Anthony Gabriel was serving as the head priest during his convalescence. And he wouldn't even say the prayers over me. He wouldn't say until life everlasting. He was, very dismissive of me, and I did not feel welcome. It might not have been intentional on his part. I can't say that it was or it wasn't, because I don't know what he was thinking.
He could have forgotten, I suppose. I mean, it's possible. But
it's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible. But given everything else, you got to understand, George, my parents lived here in this community. It's an upscale Tucson Country Club estate. It's a very exclusive area, very exclusive. They don't have any crime in Tucson Country Club. I mean, anyone can look up the crime stats. Until I arrived, certainly not this kind of thing. People there don't do these kinds of things.
Sure.
These things don't happen in Country Club.
Right.
The homeowners association was up in arms. It just isn't done there this way. So my parents had no enemies. I hadn't lived here for 40 years. Any enemies I would have had would not be here. They would be in California, but they weren't in Tucson.
Right.
So it's just sort of a coincidence that I'm warned about this man, and then this stuff is happening. And the police don't believe in coincidences, I don't think. They were very interested in talking to him, but they told me that he had no footprint in Tucson, which made them even more curious. So make a long story short, George, I know we're running out of time and I want to get this out. The deciding factor for me in getting out of that house is I found a bullet hole in the master bedroom window. And at about the same time that a neighbor, a kid in the back of our fence, was pulled down by 12 policemen. That's how frightened he was. He was shooting at a man on my property with a gun.
Wow.
So he said.
So he said.
So I no longer felt safe. I had to sell the property, obviously the loss, because of all the lost vegetation.
Right.
And that's basically what we're dealing with here, George. I don't think it's a coincidence that I was warned about Anthony Gabriel or that he lied to the police. He told the police he had not been in Tucson for the previous 2 years. Well, he'd been serving at the church. And on top of that, he was connected to the loss of $10,000 that was supposed to go to an iconographer in Lebanon. He got involved on the committee, according to the woman that I know who was on the committee, and that money went missing. And apparently he just left and went to the Greek parish. The detectives said they talked to Father Philip. Father Philip did not deny that happened to the detectives and said that it was being handled internally. And that's about all I know, George, and I'm going to turn it over to you, but that is my story. It is still going on, and this is unacceptable. And that's really all I have to say about it.
I'm sorry, Gail, what did you say?
I said, and that's really all I have to say about it.
All right.
That it's going on, still going on, and it's unacceptable.
Well, I agree. And I'm glad you came to me, Gail, because again, you are a single woman. You don't have a father, you don't have a husband, and you don't have a son anymore, tragically. And to protect you, and having said that, we're just going to wrap it up here. Hopefully, there's a way that this can be rectified. Hopefully, you're not accusing of Father Anthony per se. You did say that when you attended church there that first time, the people around you kind of looked at you very strangely, and it could very well be that this is a cabal, so to speak, of people who have maybe hard feelings against you and other people who made life difficult. It's possible, I suppose, right, Gail, or not?
Well, interestingly, I have people look at me different ways. I saw hatred on some people's faces.
Yes.
If I could characterize it as that.
Uh-huh.
I mean, like they want to spit at you. Not many, though, George.
Right.
Not many.
Right.
Certainly more than half, maybe most.
Uh-huh.
Maybe a better part of 90% looked at me kind of like that they knew and that I was welcome among them, and they didn't like this either.
Right.
That's my characterization of it.
Right. Well, Gail, hopefully this will end, if it has ended. Let's hope so. You sold your house, and it was kind of a sad thing because you're only tied to your parents, and it was a lovely house from the pictures I've seen. And I think we should, if I may end it on this note, Gail, you're still in the church. You're very pious. Your faith has not been shaken, and that's why I told the people in the previous thing, in the previous interview, that you're a heroine. You're certainly a heroine to me, and
And George, before we close, can I mention one thing very quickly?
Yes, absolutely.
This man who told the police, who's maintained that he doesn't know me, he sent me a friend request on Facebook last week.
Oh, well, there you go. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, Gail, let's hope that forgiveness abounds. Let's hope that love conquers all. Let's pray that this is over for you. And I don't know what else to say, but thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing me to tell your story, Gail.
Well,
And
thank you for letting me.
no, you're quite welcome, Gail. You're quite welcome. And on that note, I want everybody to pray for Gail, pray for each other. Let's love each other, shall we? Adios.